This week, Ukraine marks a grim milestone. That is 2 years of a brutal invasion campaign led by Russia's Vladimir Putin. So how are people in Ukraine enduring Russia's aggression? What has been the impact of war fatigue on war morale? And is South Korea doing its part to better support the plight of ordinary people in Ukraine? Welcome to Wednesday's edition of Issues and Insiders. I'm Min Sunhee. Come Friday this week, Ukraine marks 2 years of defense against Russian invasion. For more on this reality, I have Professor Choi Hyun Jin from Kyung Hee University here in the studio. Professor Choi, welcome back.
Good to see you again.
I also have Ivelina Cherevko live on the line. Ivelina, it's a pleasure to have you with us.
Pleasure to see you again, Sunny.
Right, Professor Choi, we'll start here in the studio. Let's begin with some details regarding South Korea's recent joining of an international platform in support of Ukraine's recovery from Russian invasion. Do tell us a bit about this particular platform and of South Korea's support efforts.
Yes, South Korea recently joined, as you said, international platform, and this is called the Multi-Agency Donor Coordination Platform for Ukraine. This group was made to help Ukraine to recover and rebuild after the war. It started in January after the big countries in the G7 decided to do something for Ukraine. And South Korea is now a big part of this effort. So South Korea has promised to help Ukraine a lot by providing $300 million this year and another $2 billion later on for things like safety, food, and rebuilding. The goal for South Korea is to use its own experience with democracy and economy to help Ukraine get back on its feet in a peaceful and a democratic way. In addition, by participating in this group, South Korea gets to talk directly with other big countries to discuss how to rebuild Ukraine. And this means that Korean business finding new opportunities to work in Ukraine as it rebuilds.
Right. Ivelina, you have family in Ukraine as well as friends, I'm sure. What has life been like for them as they look to enter a third year of Russian aggression?
I myself just returned from Kyiv a few weeks ago. And if you ask me how is the life there, the simplest answer will be to say that it feels incredibly surreal, as in the movie. So here, for example, how I spent, I guess, my second day in Kyiv. So my mother woke me up at 5 a.m. saying that we should go to the shelter as Russia launched a ballistic missile attack on Kyiv. And we rushed to the shelter at the kindergarten where she works. And within a few minutes, the sound of explosions started, and it was absolutely frightening. I saw, we were downstairs, and I saw on the stairs the flashes from the explosions and the sound of the explosions. It was so loud and so horrific, and probably the worst thing I ever experienced in my life. And then, this is the surreal part. Just in the middle of the attack, a kindergarten worker enters the kindergarten. And she was literally running under the missile attack when our defense system was kind of fighting them back. And she was scared, but she said it was better to go to the kindergarten and to hide herself there than to stand somewhere on the streets. So this is the most surreal part. And then another thing is that around 9 a.m., the city returned to its normal life. So that day, during the explosion, the nearby apartment that is actually probably 1 kilometer away from where we were, it was hit, and several people died. Dozens of people were injured. And still people return to this normal life. And this is the scariest part about this war, how its abnormality has become the new normal. And it's something that I couldn't understand while here in Korea, but something that I deeply felt upon returning to Ukraine. And the way people adapt even to the most horrific situations and try to keep as normal as possible. It's what makes this war and every war horrible, but at the same time very, very surreal that people still, despite everything, they don't give up and they keep fighting, they keep doing whatever is possible to close the victory.
Right. So 1 minute they're hiding in a bomb shelter, and in the next couple of hours they're back on the streets trying to ensure some kind of normalcy in their daily lives then. Ivelina, there are some Ukrainian fighters at the front lines who claim that support from the Ukrainian public with regard to the war against Russian aggression is kind of waning. What can you tell us about the public support?
Actually, I was asked somewhat similar 6 months ago when I was in your studio, and I would say that my perspective hasn't changed since then. It would be very unrealistic to claim that the exhaustion of war and that it doesn't affect us economically, psychologically, or emotionally. Yes, we should accept that this war is cruel, it's brutal, and it's violent, and it's very tiring. But, and let's also not forget that it's been 10 years since the war began with the annexation of Crimea, and 2 years since the full-scale invasion. So it's normal that both civilians and military are tired, but tiredness doesn't mean giving up. And again, speaking from my perspective, from, let's call it my bubble of my friends and family, many of whom are actually fighting at the front, the support to the soldiers from both financial and emotional support is still there. It's as strong as ever. And it's clear that both Ukrainians locally and the Ukrainians outside of Ukraine, Ukrainian diaspora, keep fundraising campaign, keep supporting the army, keep donating and conducting and doing every effort to keep this fight. So, for example, even when I went to Ukraine a few weeks ago, I brought some things from the Ukrainian community here in Korea for our military. I can't specify what exactly I brought, but it means that still efforts are taking place, and we are doing our best, both globally and locally, to keep this fight and to help to our military. And this is something that is very important about the Ukrainian spirit, that we will keep fighting till the very end. We will keep fighting to protect our people and to defend our land, just as we've been doing centuries ago when Russia attacked us.
Right, of course. Ivelina, at this particular point in the fight against Russian invasion, as you look to enter a third year, that is after this coming Friday, should the Ukrainian government, do you suppose, seek to rally greater support or attention, public attention that is, with regard to the war against Russia? Or should the government focus a bit more on allowing its public a sense of normalcy amid the rampant war fatigue, if I may?
I think it would be a misconception to suggest that Ukrainian public isn't focused on war. As I said, war is right there, and the problem is that it just became an integral part of the daily lives of every Ukrainian. And as I said, this something that is abnormal has been normalized. So I think it's actually this sense of normalcy that you can see in Ukraine. It's just how the survival psychology works. So even from my own perspective, as I said, right after the missile attack, ballistic missile attack, which was very scary, the city returned to its normal life. The kindergarten started working and accepting the kids. The coffee shops started selling the coffee. And I think it's very important to keep this abnormality for people, because when the full-scale invasion began, the first few months, everything was freezed, and businesses stopped working, and the coffee shop, restaurants, everything was closed. People directed all their attention towards the front, and it was something very important to mobilize the population. But at the same time, it can be maintained for a long period of time, and just again, for this survival psychology, people need some sense of relaxation, some sense of normalcy to keep functioning, some sense of routine. What they used to do, they need to have it in their daily lives. And again, redirecting everything towards the war means like to paralyze economy, because again, this what gives us the sense of normalcy, this for example, the entertainment industry, which is also part of business, they also contribute to the economy. And if they stop working and stop, I can't say entertain, but distract, I would say, people from the war and bring the sense of normalcy, if they stop functioning, it means that the economy won't receive taxes from them, and the moral of people will also go down. And another important thing what they do is that, for example, many coffee shops or restaurants, they send their profits to and direct it to help the army, or during the concerts, for example, they again start fundraising campaigns, and they donate all the fundings to the those who need them, or to people in need. And I think it's very important. So, because again, it supports economy and it boosts the moral of public.
Right, indeed. Indeed, of course. And staying with that, Professor Choi, having listened to Ivelina talk about the reality over in Ukraine, do you suppose that the South Korean government should seek to perhaps expand its support to Ukraine from humanitarian to military going forward? Do you see the prospects of such a reality taking place?
It's hard to predict the future actions of a Korean government, but I can at least outline some potential gain and costs of such expanding support, including military support. Let me begin from potential gains first. If we expand aid to military support, and this will enhance South Korea's standing among Western allies, especially with the United States and also NATO countries, by aligning its foreign policy more closely with theirs. And there's another positive side. Supporting Ukraine militarily could open some new opportunities and also market for South Korea's defense industry, potentially leading to increased export and also growth in this sector. And that's why South Korea is now somehow considering about the support of military one. But there are also negative sides as well. Expanding military aid to Ukraine could seriously harm Korean relation with Russia, negatively impacting economic ties, energy imports, and also security dynamics in Northeast Asia. And also there is a risk of retaliation by Russia, including economic sanctions or even military support by Russia to North Korea. And this could somehow destabilize the security of the Korean Peninsula. Therefore, expanding aid from humanitarian one to military one requires very complex consideration. And I think South Korean government needs to carefully weigh the costs and the benefits of such a move. And I believe that the final outcome would depend on South Korean strategic priorities and also the future action of America to Ukraine.
Right. In the meantime, Professor Choi, how has South Korea's relationship with Ukraine developed in the course of Russian aggression against Ukraine?
At first, South Korea was somehow careful, mainly giving Ukraine things like medical aid and money to help rebuild without sending weapons. And this is because South Korea usually doesn't like to get involved in other countries' fight and didn't want to upset Russia. But as the situation got worse, the Korea began to show more support for Ukraine. So Korea joined other countries in putting economic sanctions on Russia. And also, South Korea's help has been about offering support without sending military stuff directly, focusing on things like health supplies and rebuilding damaged areas. But there has been some discussions in the media that Korea provided some weapons indirectly by exporting weapons to other countries, and these other countries provide military support to Ukraine, but there's no direct clear evidence for this. So South Korea also spoke up for Ukraine at big international meetings, and this kind of support is important because it shows that Korea stands with Ukraine and other countries against Russia. So simply speaking, the South Korean relationship with Ukraine has gone from just helping a little bit from the sideline to playing a bigger role in supporting Ukraine, but still sticking to the rule of not sending weapons directly.
And do you suppose Russia's aggressive ambitions in Ukraine has perhaps or have negatively affected its relationship with South Korea?
So relationship with Russia? Yes, I can say that the Korean relationship with Russia has been put under strain due to this war. South Korea and Russia has maintained a relatively stable relationship for a long time, focusing on economic cooperation, energy supplies, and also diplomatic engagement for regional security issues. However, this war has introduced a lot of challenges to this relationship. For example, South Korea joined other countries in putting sanctions on Russia. So this means that doing business with Russia could get a lot harder. And also, there's a problem about trade and business. The South Korea buys a lot of natural gas from Russia, and there's a lot of Korean companies doing business there. But with all the tensions, this could become more difficult, and it might affect the Korean economy. And also, we are worrying about North Korea as well. With all that is happening, the South Korea is also keeping an eye on North Korea, because North Korea and Russia may increase their military cooperation. And this could embolden North Korea to do something against South Korea, because these two countries, North Korea and Russia, have been friends for a long time. And therefore, South Korea is in a tough spot now. So we are supporting Ukraine, not Russia. But however, we are trying not to upset Russia too much.
And beyond geopolitics, Ivelina, you spoke earlier of how companies, businesses that is, in Ukraine are sharing their profits with Ukraine's greater defense against Russia, of course. That being said, what can be done by ordinary people outside of Ukraine, Ivelina, to better assist Ukraine's defense against Russian aggression?
So first of all, I'm enormously grateful for all the support that has been provided by South Korea, as Professor mentioned, and not just by South Korea, but by many nations, and both by governments and ordinary people. And it really means a lot to Ukraine. And this support is crucial for us to win this war. And what can ordinary people do? So first, which is actually very, very important, that this war is being fought not just on the ground, but also it's an informational war, a propaganda war, and being alarmed, being having this awareness about this war is very, very important. It's important to have this critical thinking in order to fight this Russian propaganda. It's important to raise awareness among your family members and friends. So first, yes, it's the information. You need to be careful in what you read, and it's important for us to share this information, to share the truth about what's actually happening in Ukraine. The second most important factor is that the war is very expensive, and of course, therefore, financial contribution donations are also very important for Ukraine. There are numerous of trustworthy funds that have been functioning for the past 10 years and helping the military or people that are affected by war. To name just one, it's, for example, the fund Come Back Alive. Then there are also government initiatives like the United 24, which you probably heard of. So you can donate there. Then there are different smaller NGOs that are also raising funds to provide medical aid or to support families that were displaced. And there are millions of people that were displaced in the course of war. Again, there are also the NGOs that help the animals that are also victims of this war, for example, UA Animal, yeah. And then you can also call your governments to provide more political support or economic support to Ukraine by joining the peaceful protests. So, for example, in Seoul this Saturday, the Ukrainian community in Korea will hold a peaceful protest at 2 p.m. in front of the Russian embassy. So please, you're very, very welcome to join. Then you can also contact the embassies or the Ukrainian community groups and ask what you personally can do to contribute to Ukrainian victory in this war. And finally, there is also a cultural war, and we back everyone to stop attending cultural events that are conducted by Russia or by Russian stars. So, for example, even here in Seoul, within a few months, it will be a ballet show with the Russian ballerina Zakharova that is actively supporting war against Ukraine, conducting and taking part in this show. And as a Ukrainian, I'm very, very angry with the fact that it's okay in South Korea, while Zakharova was basically blocked by the whole civilized world, and her concerts were cancelled and her shows were cancelled. But here in South Korea, she's going to dance, while many Ukrainian ballet dancers, male dancers, died in the front. So yes, I think it's very important to do something about this as well, about this cultural war as well, and generally, every action, no matter how small, contributes to our fight for freedom. So please stand with Ukraine, support us. And by supporting Ukraine, you also fight for democracy, not just in Ukraine, but in the world globally. You fight for justice, you fight for freedom.
Right,
So,
Ivelina, thank you so much for your words right there. And we're praying also for the people in Ukraine, of course. And Professor Choi here in the studio, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Right, well, on that note, we say goodbye. Thank you for watching. We return same time tomorrow, so do join us then.